Hey guys, welcome back. Today we have Adi helping us out in social media, and we're here to answer your questions. So if you want to call in, the number is 866-561-4292. And also, we're on tunein.com, and sometimes certain radio stations will have that in your car. You could check that out. Also, anything that I say today that's related to recommendations, check with your doctor first. It's not meant to diagnose you or provide an alternative medical care. All right? That being said, we're going to jump right in. Ruth has been waiting for 59 minutes, and she's from Texas. Go ahead, Ruth. You're on the air.
Good morning, Dr. Berg.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for all the videos that you've created. I love sitting at my desk and watching them.
Oh, no problem.
My question today is about the Digestate and the Gallbladder formula.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I have stomach issues because when I first started using the tool on my neck, I thought my herniated disc had flared up, and then I read your book, and it said that sometimes in few occasions, if you have stomach problems, you'd have problems with the tool. So I started watching all your videos on digestion, and on one of the videos, it mentioned the colostrum, the L-glutamine, and the probiotic. Mm-hmm. So I did that for a month and finished all of the colostrum, half of the L-glutamine, and then I tried the tool again, and I'm able to use it without any problems. Mm-hmm. So I thought everything was fine, but I'm noticing that I still have brittle nails and hair. I have some dry spots above my eyelids, dry skin. So that means I feel like I'm still not digesting well.
Mm-hmm.
So when I make my shake at about 2 o'clock, I take 3 of the Digestates, but I know that it's going to be probably an hour before I eat my meat and vegetables. So once I finish the shake, I go ahead and take 2 gallbladder formulas. And then before I start my meat and vegetables, I take another 3 of the Digest aids, and then after the meat and vegetables, 2 gallbladder formulas.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if I was maybe taking too much, not taking enough. I mean, can you take too much of a good thing?
Yeah, good question. So let's just answer that. So she's talking about using the massage tool on your neck, okay? And a lot of times when you're working on your neck, it might actually aggravate the neck if there's a gallbladder issue, because there's a little nerve that causes the referred pain into your neck. So really there's not any problem in the neck, it's coming from somewhere else. So if you're working on the neck and not the cause, it won't get better. It can aggravate the area. So she's trying to fix the digestion, which it's starting to work, but there's 2 things. One is that Digest formula, which acidifies the stomach, and then the Gallbladder formula, which helps you get more bile. Here's the thing. Really, you only need the Digest Plus when you're doing protein, not a kale shake. Okay, so you can do it right before you eat the big protein meal. Okay, so do the Digest Plus right before. And some people need 2, some people need 5. My guitar teacher said that when he had 9, he can go to 5 guys, and that was defeating the purpose. So I told him not to do that. But the point is, it just helps you digest. On some people, it takes a while for it to build up, because you're not you're not consuming battery acid. You're just slowly building up the acid over a period of weeks or even months. So it's gradual. So you may not know the change right away. Now the gallbladder formula should only be taken right after the meal, and you really don't need much. So if you just need 1, and if you don't see quick change, it just means it's going to take some time on that. But you should notice a better skin, better absorption of fat-soluble vitamins, so the vision will be better. But the thing is that what I would do is a combination of just keep that in there, keep the Digest Plus before the meal and then the gallbladder after, and just keep that in for a period of time, and then start working on the intermittent fasting. So you're doing 2 meals a day that are a little bit closer. And I think just with time that's going to improve. So that's what I would do if I were you. But great question. Thank you. Let's go to Zachary. I've been waiting for 50 minutes from Missouri. You had a question. You're a type 1 diabetic, right?
Yes, sir. Okay. Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
As my mom has called in before and expressed that we all love your videos. We feel like we know you and everything. Thank you very much for everything you do. Let me get right to my main question here. I called in with the question about the adrenals and wondering if it's more key to my health than I realize with the type 1 diabetes, knowing that it produces anti-inflammatory hormone. I also have an addition to that, and that is I am having trouble absorbing potassium and nutrients because, they are transported in the cells with insulin. And so I'm having to take insulin to be able to absorb any kind of potassium or anything. Is there any kind of way around that where I don't have to take the insulin or something, and still get those nutrients in?
Yeah, good question. Really good question. Yeah, you're smart because you're actually supporting the adrenals, which will take the stress off the pancreas, take the stress off insulin because that's always kind of a factor. Now, here's the thing with the type 1, the diet should be pretty much the same as if you have type 2. The goal for you is to take the minimum amount of insulin possible. And out of all the things you can do, the greatest thing you can do is basically doing intermittent fasting with diabetes type 1. Because think about it, what we're trying to do is minimize the need for insulin. But every time you eat, it raises it. Okay, so of course you're cutting out the carbs, you're doing keto, and that's great. But intermittent fasting is going to probably be even more powerful and to the point where you don't have to raise insulin as much. The other factor that you want to focus on is the type of insulin that you're taking because unfortunately 99% of all the insulin that's sold in America is from 3 companies and it's all GMO, which I don't like. So if you could find a better quality insulin, that would be the ideal scene. I don't know where you're going to find it. I have no idea, but that would be better. And then just see if that doesn't help you greatly. Now, as far as the potassium goes, believe it or not, taking more potassium will actually improve your absorption. It actually helps insulin resistance because what's happening now, you might have a combination of diabetes type 1 and insulin resistance at the same time because of the insulin you're taking is creating insulin resistance. So what you're trying to solve, I think, is insulin resistance. And the way to do that is to take even more potassium. You might have to take like 5,000, even 6,000 a day to cram in enough in there to actually start kicking it in. But on one of my videos, I talk about other things you can do to increase or improve insulin resistance. Vitamin D, omega-3 fatty acids, sulforaphane from all the phytonutrients from the vegetables, B1, really important, nutritional yeast. So use the nutrition to actually improve it. And then once it improves, the absorption will go up as well. So, but I would, if you're type 1, you're probably going to have to work towards doing like 1 meal a day eventually. Okay? Thanks for your question, Zach. All right, let's go to the Adi. Adi, do we have any questions yet coming in?
Yes, we do. We have a lot.
Okay.
But before I start, there's a lot of greetings from around the world.
Wow.
We have India, Japan, Canada, Chicago, Puerto Rico, Chile, Brazil, Spain, New Zealand,
Wow.
New York, Virginia, and Baltimore.
Awesome.
Yes. So the first question is from YouTube, and Hien is asking, basically she's not feeling thirsty while doing keto. Shouldn't be the other way around, or what do you think?
Well, that's a good question because when you're diabetic, you're more thirsty because your body's trying to dilute the sugar by increasing more fluid and more peeing. Okay, so when you do on keto, you're no longer focusing on replenishing and focusing on trying to build up this glycogen reserve, which means you're going to dump a lot of fluid and the need for fluid will go down.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that's fine.
Okay.
But again, make sure you drink somewhat of some liquids through the day, especially if you're prone to kidney stones, but don't ever force yourself to drink more than what you're thirsty for.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
All right.
Good. So do we have another question?
Yes.
Yeah.
Now going to Facebook, LaShonda is asking, is keto okay for people with heart failure, congestive heart failure?
Well, I did a video on that. It's actually for people with heart problems. The number one killer on planet Earth right now, the number one death is heart disease. And Yeah, so the best thing you can do is to help improve your insulin levels, your blood sugar levels, because that creates inflammation in the arteries. So by doing keto and intermittent fasting, you're dropping inflammation all over the place, and you're going to start healing up the internal tissues. There's 4 main tissues that are going to be improved when you do keto. One is the vision. Number 2 is the nerve and your brain. 3 is the kidney, and 4 is the arteries. Because with the high sugar, it makes the arteries stiff and harden, so we can actually make them more elastic if we get off the sugar. Okay? Is that a good answer?
Yes, it
Good.
is.
Good. One more question.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So YouTube PH is asking, is spam safe for a keto diet? Spam.
Spam. Oh, spam. Right. That's a good question. Yeah, when you go to the dollar store and in America, you see these little canned meats, spam. That's what you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's college food right there. That is so bad. I'm sorry. It's First of all, meat in a can, I mean, has no shelf life. There's probably not a lot of nutrients in there. I wouldn't do it. It's kind of a mystery meat. Yeah.
Okay.
Just don't do it. So, because you brought up spam, so what I'm going to ask the first question. Okay. First question of the day. There's 3 questions, guys. So you got to stick around for the whole time until we get all these questions. But the first question is, what's going to trigger insulin more? Number 1, consuming low-fat, lean protein, or higher fat protein. Okay. Type in your answer right now. What's going to trigger insulin more? Low-fat, lean protein, or higher fat protein? Let me know what you think. See if you've been watching my videos. Okay, so while people are answering that question, we're going to go right to Debbie from upstate New York. You had a question about smoking.
Yeah. Good morning.
Good morning.
Avid student of yours. Appreciate your videos.
Thanks.
I have watched your videos on smoking, and I have the 3 sorry, I'm losing what I'm trying to say. I have the 3 supplements that you recommended. I take them in the morning, and I do notice a difference, but you never quite go into, like, what would be a good way to transition off of the cigarette.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could elaborate a little more on that. And then I have a quick question on your sleep aid.
Okay.
Which is, I take it, and I sleep really well, which I'm assuming, because I'm a light sleeper, and I usually notice the time going by at night. I don't with this stuff, so I'm assuming that it's working very well. The only other thing is I get warm and cold flashes at night.
You get what?
And I'm wondering if it's warm and cold flashes.
Oh, warm and cold
at
flashes.
night, like that it wakes me up. Yeah. And I'm wondering if that goes away, if that's normal. So those are my 2.
Okay, good. So the first question, smoking, of course, I'm an expert at smoking. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not an expert. I never inhaled any time, even in college. So here's the thing about smoking. Once you start, oh my gosh, it's really highly addictive. So some people can go cold turkey and come off. If they have good adrenals, it's fine. Other people do it gradually. But the point is that I think even worse than the nicotine is all the smoke stuff in there. So you're going to have to do some organic cigarettes, and which is least harmful because I mean less harmful because there's less chemicals coming in. And then I would honestly start the patch. So the nicotine patch, I would do that for a while. That's actually better. And think about it. This nicotine is calming the adrenals down. So you want to support the adrenals at the same time as you go less and less and less and less and less to the point where you don't need it anymore. But it really has to do with neurotransmitters. So your neurotransmitters are messed up right now, so you have to reestablish those. So a lot of B vitamins, a lot of nutritional yeast is going to be really important as you transition off this until eventually you don't need it. So that's what I would recommend. People that have addictions to anything need to keep really, really, really busy, and then really kind of take a look at why you're smoking in the first place. Usually people smoke to relax so they can breathe better, which doesn't make sense, but when they start smoking, it vasodilates the arteries, it calms down the nerves. So if you could find something else that does the same thing, and I think my adrenal day formula, which is called adrenal cortisol support, works really good for that. because it actually gives you some instant release and relaxation. And then, of course, the massage tool. So that's what I would recommend for that. And then you ask the next question, you get these cold and hot flashes. If it's triggered by the night formula, usually that will go away over a period of time, but it could also mean that it's kind of supporting or activating the adrenals a little bit more in a way that you may need to do something else called the estrogen balance formula with DIM, because especially if it's more like a hot flash, that's what that's for. So you might want to look at that, especially if you're going through menopause. I'm not sure if you are. In fact, I don't even know if you're 20 years old or 30 years old. I have no idea. Okay? Thanks, Debbie. All right, so we're going to go right to Derek from New York. Go ahead, Derek.
Hey, Dr. Berg. Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Dr. Berg, do you remember my situation?
Yes,
I kind of call you every week.
Yeah. Yes, I do remember.
Digestive issues and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Dr. Berg, now I'm experiencing, I guess I would call it diabetic neuropathy, where the hair on my legs, basically from my ankle, a little bit above my ankle to a little bit below my knee, the hair is just gone.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling burning, stinging, and itching sensations now on my lower leg, and it travels all around my body as well.
Okay.
You told me to take benfotiamine, which I have, and grapeseed extract. I do take your gallbladder formula as well, and I did have my glucose level, and I just checked my blood work. From September, it was actually 103, end of September. Then beginning of December, it was at 102, and then 2 weeks later, it went to 96. So I don't eat. I'm not someone who ever had a sweet tooth. Diabetes doesn't run in my family. I don't eat junk. I don't eat fast food. I don't eat sweets, although the past 2 weeks I've been craving sweets, actually.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here's what you need to do, Derek. You ready for this?
Yeah.
Are you sitting down? No, just kidding.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So sounds like you got two things going on. The peripheral neuropathy is definitely related to higher sugar or higher insulin. Now, the fact that you crave sweets means there's something going on with the blood sugar. So here's the interesting thing, Derek, that I wanted to tell you and everyone else. Way before the high sugar, there's high insulin. I would love for you to actually get a test with your insulin test. Do a fasting insulin and then a post-meal insulin test. That would give you the full picture, because I think there's high insulin that's still not coming down, because you can have high insulin because of the high, and because of the insulin resistance, the blood sugars don't go out of control. So if you're evaluating everything on the blood sugars, you're going to miss like a big picture of what's going on deeper. Because the fact that you have diabetic neuropathy tells us that there must be high insulin. So with high insulin, you have all the side effects, but normal sugars. Why? Because you have insulin resistance. Until that fat cell becomes so big and so congested, it spills off into the liver, the pancreas, clogs everything up, and then you start getting high blood sugar. So that's probably what's happening right now. So you want to continue what you're doing, increase the benfotiamine, maybe add some alpha-lipoic acid, which is another thing for peripheral neuropathy. That's what I would recommend. The last thing I want to mention is the hair that's falling off your lower legs. That's probably not related to peripheral neuropathy. That is related to high levels of estrogen. A lot of men have that. The estrogen in the environment starts going up, and then the testosterone goes down, and it burns out the hair follicles. So it's estrogen. That's what you need to maybe clean up by cutting off the soy milk. No, I'm just kidding. I know you don't do that. But if you do cruciferous vegetables, more of those, that actually would help you, so you can balance this out. Okay? But so the fact that you're going from 103 down to 96 is a good indicator that it's working, but it's going to take some more time. All right, now we're going to go right to Adi. What are people answering with this question here?
All right, so we have 90% of people, or actually more, saying low-fat, lean protein.
Okay. Okay. Drum roll, please. And the answer is, to the question, what triggers more insulin? They are correct. It's
Awesome.
low-fat, lean proteins trigger higher amounts of insulin. Wow. You guys are smart. You've been watching my videos. I just want to show you something. I brought this from my house. This is summer sausage. Okay. This is from the U.S. Wellness Meats. I love this company because it's grass-fed, grass-finished, and there's no nitrates, no sugar, Celtic sea salt, spices, and garlic powder. You can order this online, do a search, but it's pretty cool stuff. I love it. Sounds like I'm doing a commercial, but I'm not. I'm just telling you. I also bought their hamburger that they have 55%, which is 45% fat and 55% protein. So I've never seen it at the grocery store. So it's like the fattiest hamburger you've ever had in your life. So you put that on the grill, it's over. Okay.
Delicious.
But I like this because this is higher fat. So we want higher fat meats. We don't want the low fat turkey bacon. We don't want the chicken without the skin. It's too lean. We want the fattier stuff because we'll keep insulin in check. Again, the exact opposite of what you've been taught. So, all right. So let's go right to Megan. Had a question. Go ahead, Megan.
Hi, Dr. Berg. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. I have two questions.
Yeah.
I've been doing your way of life pretty consistently since November. The only reason why I say pretty consistently is because sometimes I'll fall off, but I get right back on. I love how I feel. I haven't really lost any weight, but I've been patient with it because I've been tweaking, and it seems like it took me a long time to get my insulin resistance in check. So now I'm to the point where I do one meal a day, and my biggest issue are getting my vegetables in. I don't have a problem with eating vegetables. I actually like them. The issue is I don't bloat or anything like that. But as soon as I eat, and I thought it was just cruciferous, it's not. Pretty much anything green will constipate me, and I won't go for a couple of days. So that's counterproductive to my weight loss because I only have 9 pounds left to go. I've got my stress under control. I have my estrogen issues under control. I'm taking your cruciferous supplement, 6 pills a day, and I'm doing apple cider vinegar 3 times a day. So, but I'm concerned about my liver, for the future. I feel great when I don't eat veggies, but I know that's not ideal. So that's my first issue. And then my other question would be, I use ionic foot baths once a month. I have for years. It helps keep my sciatic nerve, I don't have any pain with it. And also I feel better internally cleansed with what comes out of my, my cleanse with it. I wanted to ask you your opinion on that as far as implementing that with this way of life, ketogenic, and helping with liver and hormones and my gallbladder.
Okay, great. Well, I think that ionic foot bath is a great thing. I would keep doing that. That's awesome. Now, chances are, if the weight's not coming off as fast, but you're getting improvements, it tells me that you probably had insulin resistance pretty deep in your body. And so, interesting. There's a huge connection between insulin resistance, high sugar, and your flora in your gut. Because if you get worse with vegetables, simply that means you don't have the enzymes, because you don't have the microbes in your gut to be able to deal with these microbes. So if you don't have the microbes, you're not going to be able to fully break this thing down because the microbes live on the fiber. So I think what you might want to think about doing is getting some type of probiotic right now to build up your flora, because even that alone will speed up insulin resistance and actually, or not speed up, improve it to a degree that there's even people that work on the gut and improve diabetes. So it's just something to look at, something to research, because then you'll start developing the microbes so you can have the enzymes to break down the vegetables. Now, what we want from the vegetables is the fiber, but if it's constipating you, you're just kind of overloading the microbes. So I would do maybe some steamed vegetables, see if that is okay. And then the next thing I would try is fermented vegetables. And then there is some other viewpoints out there that you can also experiment on, because at the end of the day, we want the nutrients from the vegetables, right? And we don't want to constipate you. So there is some viewpoints that you can get a lot of these nutrients from organ meats and even animal products. So that's something else you can research. But here's the thing, if you're consuming these animal products and no vegetables, and you're eliminating, and then you add vegetables and you're constipated, obviously we don't want to continue that because that's going to be bad. So some people do a lot better without too many vegetables. As long as you're getting your nutrients, that's all I care about. Personally, I found that when I started to consume, when I was on my low-fat diet and I was doing grains and all that, I started adding more saturated fats from animal products. My bowels started going really perfectly. So, and it wasn't the fact, I thought like we need fiber to go, but that's really not always it. So try those things and see if that can help you, but definitely try the fermented, okay? And hey guys, I wanted to mention something. Let me just figure out, okay. So I have a new download. This is called Keto Essentials. Click down below if you want it. This is pretty cool. It tells you all the foods that you should focus on, what type of carbs, protein, and fat. Okay, and it also shows you some simple, quick meals, what you should be eating. It's a short thing, so it's good for people that want to jump in and they don't know much about it. I even show you a recipe on how to make the keto bomb, which is a cookie, and also the kale shake. So if you want the download, click down below now and get your Keto Essentials download, okay? So that's the giveaway for today. Now, we're going to go right to Adi for the next question.
All right, so on YouTube, we have Pam asking, is there an age restriction to keto and intermittent fasting?
Did you find out how old she is?
I didn't.
You got to find out because it's going to be a little less than what she is. So.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so it's age restrictive. If you're over the age of 45, you shouldn't be doing keto because then you're going to get too healthy. Okay. Now, there is no age limit. Absolutely no age limit at all. In fact, the older you get, the more you want to do it because it's healthy. It's anti-aging. It's going to help extend your life, especially the intermittent fasting and cutting out the sugar.
Okay.
Okay?
Great.
Good. Next question.
Okay. So I have Leah on Facebook, and I know you went over gallbladder, but she's asking if she doesn't have one, does she still need to take the formula?
Then you're good to go. If you don't have one, then you really don't need to worry about it, right?
Are you sure?
No. You need a gallbladder. If you don't have a gallbladder, then what's happening is you have this severe reduction of bile. So therefore, you're going to have a reduction of the absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. It might not show up because fat-soluble vitamins are stored in your fat and your liver, and you have a lot that can be sitting there for a period of months and months, but eventually you could show signs of vitamin A, D, E, and K2 deficiencies. So I'm going to recommend, take a little bile extract. There's something I have called gallbladder formula that you can take. Just take like one after the meal, maybe every day or every other day, just to make sure you're getting that bile in there to start pulling in a better absorption of fat-soluble vitamins. Without a gallbladder, your reduction goes down by 50%. So you're still producing bile from the liver, but it's not being stored and concentrated in the gallbladder. So gallbladder is stored like by 20x the concentration. So think about that. If you don't have that super concentration and this is trickling down, are you really going to get your full digestion? No. So that's that answer. Good. So did you have another question?
I do. All right. Barbara on YouTube is asking, how can one obtain calcium on keto and intermittent fasting?
Well, most people are taking too much calcium. So the best thing to do with calcium is get it from the food. And you can get it from leafy greens. You can get it from like grass-fed, like cheese. Like grass-fed cows that eat cheese that then make the cheese.
Oh, okay.
So make the milk that then actually turns into cheese. But the point is that that's where I would recommend you getting your calcium. If you're sensitive to dairy, then get it from the vegetables. But make sure you're not taking a lot of calcium. These people that are going to GNC and getting this very poorly absorbed calcium carbonate, which basically is limestone. You'd be better off chewing on the cement outside, Adi, because they're like taking these huge, heavy pills. And by the way, if you have a multivitamin that you take and it weighs heavier than a paperweight, then chances are it has calcium carbonate rocks in there. And that's probably going to be the first ingredient, and you're taking rocks as your supplement. And it's not going to really absorb that well. So it's great if you want to plaque up your arteries, but other than that, I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good. So let's go to Maria. She's been waiting for just under 1 hour. Maria, go ahead. You're from Chicago.
Yes. Thank you, doctor. I'm calling for my daughter. My daughter, she have type 1 diabetes. She used insulin, 50 units. And also now she's low in iron. She got anemia. She only got 4%. And also vitamin D, she's deficient.
Okay.
And she's in a diet, in a keto diet. Since last October, she only lose 6 pounds. But she want to know what you recommend for her.
Is she on intermittent fasting?
Yes.
Okay. How many meals a day?
2.
2? Okay. All right. So here's the thing, Maria. Couple things I'm going to recommend. When you're type 1 diabetic, it's more severe. You don't have the insulin, so then you have to take insulin. The problem is the taking insulin. So we want to get a situation where you take the least amount possible. So you might want to recommend for your daughter to go on like 1 meal a day. I think that's where she needs to go. But the other thing is if she's anemic, usually she needs more stomach acid. So if you were to recommend either apple cider vinegar or taking the pill or maybe betaine hydrochloride, that will then acidify the stomach, allow her to absorb the minerals much, much better. And then one of the best sources of iron is red meat, honestly, or even liver. That would give her enough. You can even have a liverwurst. If you go to the U.S. Wellness Meats, they have this liverwurst that's actually pretty healthy. It's grass-fed. It's hard to find high-quality liverwurst. But anyway, that way you'll get the vitamin D as well. But I think that's the thing. If she's low in vitamin D, that usually is related to a lacking of bile, so she might benefit from some gallbladder formula to help her with that. But I would push for like 1 meal a day, and then you'll find things start really changing. I think diabetics type 1, if they can gradually work to 1 meal a day and it's really nutrient dense, but they're going to have to enhance their diet because you really need the nutrients, I think you'll see the most changes. The other thing you want to research is the stem cell stuff. I mean, it's amazing the new stem cell stuff they can do for diabetes and kind of regrow the cells that produce insulin. I think that's what I would do if I were a diabetic type 1. But thanks for the question. Hey guys, just want to let you know that we're finally on tunein.com. So you could, if you're driving your car, or you have your cell phone, you can hear me. It's like a radio type thing. You can pull up Dr. Berg, listen to the latest live shows, and just, that way it's not like a video. You can listen anywhere. Okay? And we are also on Anchor app as well. Okay? All right, so now we're going to go to Keith from Toronto. Go ahead, Keith.
Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Quickly, I guess I've been on the keto diet. I found you about a month ago, and I was experiencing a lot of the problems that you describe as adrenal problems. So I've been rectifying all of those issues. I'm still having problems. So I've lost 8 pounds in about 3 weeks, and which I found so easy now to stay on this the intermittent fasting.
Mm-hmm.
But I still feel that in the morning I don't wake up as bright and as cheery as I end up being in the afternoon.
Right. Okay. Have you ever tried coffee before? No, I'm just kidding. So let me.
Too much of it, I tend to. Yeah.
I have that T-shirt too. Here's the thing that you usually, if you're waking up not bright, and I think you started off telling me exactly where the issue is. The adrenal is the key for the quality of sleep. If that adrenal is like kicked in a little too much, higher cortisol, it won't let you get into the full relaxed state. I'm going to recommend this treatment device that I have, which is a massage tool that you use on the different parts of your body to extract stress. An average person goes through a lot of stress in their life, and all that stress accumulates like a sponge. And when you go to sleep at night, you lay there, and there could be certain parts of your body that are kind of more energetic or just that won't turn off. So I use this for that purpose, to take every part of your body and just turn it off so it's not like, energetic. And then you can get into a deeper sleep, and then you'll start to recharge better and better and better. So the key with sleep is to be able to recover and turn off versus kind of stuck in this state of stress, because that's what it does, and it keeps you kind of revved up all the time, and you wake up kind of feeling groggy. So I have an adrenal formula. You might even be taking it now. I use that every night before we go to sleep to support nutritionally, but I would use this as another tool to take your sleep to the next level. There's nothing better than a good night's sleep where you wake up feeling refreshed, and it's worth it to focus on that, because then the whole day, like, you're bright, you're creative, you're mentally energetic. Okay, so that's what I'm recommending, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, good. So Adi, give me another question.
Okay, so I have Monique on Facebook, and she's asking, how often should you be working out on keto?
Well, Monique, that's a very unique question. You should work out. It really depends on your level of fitness and your age. If you're my age, you're probably working out 2 times a week is plenty. But on the days that I don't work out hardcore, I do my bike, or I'll do some walking and things like that. But I like 2 times a week for the average person. If you're younger, maybe 3 times a week. If you're really fit, a little bit more. But always give yourself a chance to recover. Make sure that you're still sore, or it's interfering with your sleep, or you're a little tired. Don't push it, because you're going to overtrain and stop your progress. I had this, Adi, I don't know if you remember this patient who came in. She was working out 6 hours a day. I don't know if you remember that lady. 6 hours a day, okay, every day. That was a little bit much. I told her she needed to cut down to at least like 5 hours a day. Yeah. And that was like freaking her out. So I just wanted to kind of slowly kind of bring her down, because she wasn't losing any weight. She was completely overtraining. She was in her 50s, but it just wasn't working. So I never knew what happened to her, but I would recommend to cut it back, because what really produces the results with exercise is the recovery part. So you want to stress the body and then let it recover, let it heal. That's where you get the benefits. Okay. Do you have any other questions?
Yes, I do. I have Murillo on YouTube, and he's asking if he's doing intermittent fasting, could that cause thyroid problems?
Okay, so here's a common question. I did a video on this as well. If you do intermittent fasting and you really cut your calories down too much, it's really about the calories and the lack of nutrients that can weaken the thyroid. But if you keep your meals nice and large and they're healthy, it will not affect the thyroid. Okay?
Good to know.
Good, so I'm ready for another question.
Oh, yay, okay.
Actually,
I have, what?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I have Wanda on Facebook, and she's asking, what's the best way to get started on keto?
Okay, Wanda, what you need to do is I have a mini course, okay? It's on my website under Education tab. It says How to Do Ketosis. Click that. There's 3 videos. They may be 5 minutes each. So watch them, and you'll get the basics of how to do keto.
Awesome.
Okay, but in a thumbnail sketch, here's the thing. If you want to do keto, obviously you want to try to burn fat, right? Very few people know how to burn fat, but there's 3 things about the fat cell you need to know. Number 1, fat is controlled by hormones. Okay, I'm talking about the fat burning or the fat storing. Excuse me. And what happens is when there's a little enzyme. Enzymes are little things that make things work in the body. There's a certain enzyme that causes the fat to be burned. Okay, if you wanted to know this, Adi, The name of that is called hormone-sensitive lipase. Like lipo meaning fat and ase meaning enzyme. So there's an enzyme that helps you dissolve fat, right?
Okay.
So then the question is, how do you activate this enzyme? You want to know?
Yes.
Well, this kind of brings me to the last question here that I was going to ask everyone right before we end off. So I guess I have to answer this now.
Okay.
So before I give you the answer, I'm going to ask everyone, how do you trigger the enzyme that burns fat?
Oh.
What is the main trigger? Okay, go ahead and answer it below. See if you guys can answer this, and then we'll come back. All right?
Okay.
Now, I'm going to go right to Rhonda. You had a question. You're from Ontario. Go ahead, Rhonda.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
I just want to tell you and all your listeners my success story. I do have a big question I want to ask you at the end, but I've been following your program for 17 months now.
Wow.
And I had gone to my doctor. I was very, very sick. And she told me I had this unbelievable itching, a rash on my stomach that I almost scratched my skin clear right off. My mind was so bad that I just wanted to crumble. Now, my husband wanted to fix me, and he studied you for over 2 years now. And so he said, this is it, Rhonda, we're going to do it. And so we did, and I tell you, I've been doing it 100%. I haven't gone off of it. Now, this is the main thing that I want everybody to understand. Yes, you're terrific. I was taking Motrin for headaches every day, Zantac for heartburn. I was on baby aspirins, high blood pressure, cholesterol, sleeping pills, metformin, because my doctor told me that I was going to have a heart attack or a stroke due to the fact of being a diabetic is the reason why I had all this itching and my brain wasn't good. I also have been on medication and am off that too, is for the COD. And, of course, I drank red wine every day. So my doctor followed me through this program all this time, and she said, Rhonda, this is a lifestyle change that you're doing, and whatever you're doing, we did, my husband went with me too, and she says, look at you. Can you imagine do you remember how sick you were? Do you remember how bad you were? Look at you. You're doing great. I want you to keep it up. So now I have done this all this time. For everybody that's been talking about diabetes, I was a 2 and a type 2 on metformin, 2 in the morning, 2 at night, every day. So the first thing I did, the first pill I took away slowly, but I did it. I've taken all of this out of my system. I am off everything, even
Wow.
my brain pills.
Fantastic.
Now, my brain pills were my last, and I thought, oh my goodness, I'm going to be really mentally ill because I had problems with the mind. But my mind is sharp and clean and focused.
Wow.
Without
That's
it.
Great.
It
That's awesome.
took me only 16 days to get off of metformin.
Wow, Rhonda, congratulations. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
This is a great example.
And I lost 72 pounds.
Wow.
Hey, that's not bad. That's not bad. 72 pounds.
Yes,
Wow.
it is. It's very, very good.
That's great.
So I just want to tell everybody out there, believe in you, Dr. Berg. Believe in it for themselves so that they can become strong-minded, healthy, and happy. I'm 61 years old, and I feel terrific.
Wow.
So I thank you so very, very much for that, Dr. Berg.
Oh, you're welcome.
an amazing man. You're very smart. So please, everybody, do listen to this man. He knows what he's talking about. Now, I do have a question for you, and this is a big question. My son, he's on this diet now, too, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And he's been a bodybuilder for years. He doesn't compete anymore. However, he's had a problem with his right armpit, which he thought was either a large pimple, or maybe it was a little boil or something.
A cyst?
But anyways, it drained, and it's been draining. He's been put on antibiotics on and off for this. And so now the doctor, there's 2 drainings, okay, that are coming through, and there's a bit of a flap because the skin has been doing this draining and it's opened, which is concerning me. Now, they want to and are talking about removing the glands. Now, I don't want him to do that, and he doesn't want to do it. So my question to you, doctor, is what can he do to make it better?
Okay, good question, Rhonda, and thank you for that wonderful. And by the way, Rhonda is not my sister, but thank you.
No, my husband found you. He wanted to fix me.
That's usually what
he did
husbands
it
want to
through
do.
you.
Yeah, I tell you, it's like
That's
you
right.
want to fix your spouse. It's really important. Here's the thing. When you have blood sugar issues, you tend to get boils, you get cysts, and that's usually a blood sugar issue. You can even look it up. So as he's doing keto and intermittent fasting, that should all improve. You can get styes in the eyes as well. But here's the other thing that I would recommend. I would continue to do what you did, but then I would also add seek help, because iodine is also really good for anything like any type of cyst anywhere in the body. It will help greatly. So start taking the natural iodine from the seek help, high quality, and then do the intermittent fasting, and that should clear up that little cyst underneath the armpit. That's what's really behind it. So thanks for that. Okay, guys, I want to let you know I have this cool download right here. It's called Keto Essentials. Download it now if you want to know how to do this program. I kind of just give you the summary, jump right in, what you need to do. It has a little keto bomb recipe, a dessert, a kale shake. Check it out. It might help you. Okay? So let's go right to Adi for another question.
All right, so to the question you
Yes,
asked.
to answer my question, and just for those people, just want to know, I wanted to know what do you do to trigger this enzyme that then causes you to burn fat? Let's see if anyone can get that right.
All right, so we have keto and intermittent fasting, bile or no carbs.
Okay.
Most of them.
Well, you are all very, very sort of getting warmer, but I'm going to go a little deeper after the bell. I'm sorry, not the bell, the countdown, or the drum roll. I can't even talk today. Okay, so the answer is lower your insulin, which kind of most of you are correct, but I'm going deeper. What really triggers this enzyme is the lack of insulin. It's the lack of insulin. So, yes, lowering your carbs will do it. Yes, doing intermittent fasting will do it, but it's really about lowering insulin. Lowering insulin is the key trigger to activating hormone-sensitive lipase, which then burns fat. Okay?
Okay.
You didn't know that, did you?
I did not.
Now you do. Okay, so now let's go to another comment or another question from someone.
Okay, so Misty on Facebook is asking, how much potassium is recommended daily?
Well, typically we need 4,700 milligrams. Now, if you have rheumatoid arthritis or some serious inflammatory condition, you probably need 5,000 or 6,000 milligrams. Now, 7 to 10 cups of vegetables will help achieve that, depending on what type of vegetables you consume, but at least get you closer, okay? And that's what I recommend. But certain types of vegetables, like beet leaves, for example, or avocados will give you more insulin. But also realize even the proteins that you're consuming, like a piece of meat or something, that will give you like 300 milligrams. So that'll all contribute to your daily recommendation, or your recommended requirement, should I say. Yep.
Alrighty.
All right. So now I'm going to go to Magdalena from California. Go ahead. You had a question.
Yes. Hi, Dr. Berg.
Hi.
I have a couple, actually. My first one is my daughter, who is 32, is going to be having gastric bypass in a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
And she also suffers from gallstones, so there's a possibility they're going to remove her gallbladder. So I was going to recommend this lifestyle to her, and I was wondering what you think about her doing the keto and intermittent fasting after her gastric bypass. My second question is, I have issues with dizzy spells and lightheadedness because my blood pressure tends to run low. And recently I've realized that my sugar levels kind of dropped. Found out when I was in the ER and they tested my blood sugar, and it was quite low, so they had to give me 2 cups of apple juice to get it up.
Right.
And it tends to happen in the mornings. So if I'm doing the intermittent fasting and going as far as 12 before eating my first meal, how do I go about trying to not having the dizzy spells and lightheadedness doing this lifestyle?
That's a great question. There is a video on this, of course. So let me just give you the summary of the video that's out there. And this is, I think, under hypoglycemia. What happens, too, is when you have high insulin, like this is the common theme of today, right? High insulin. Think about what insulin does. It lowers blood sugars. So it's going to lower your blood sugars. If your adrenals are strong, that will counter that and keep the sugars somewhat high. So it sounds to me like your adrenals need some support. That's one thing. So that's, and look at some of my videos of how to do that, okay? The other thing is that you're on the right track with your intermittent fasting and your keto lifestyle, because eventually that's going to actually help you. You may also want to increase your salt intake. I think that's going to help you. And then the last thing you want to improve is your liver function. So there's a couple things. Dandelion greens in a salad would be good, or even milk thistle will be really good, because then that will help you support the liver and help release the glycogen more in a leveled area, so it's not too out of balance in the mornings when you wake up. Now, some people wake up with a high sugar. You're waking up with low sugar, but still you want to support the liver. So there could be a fatty liver going on in the background that's keeping you from keeping the normal blood sugars. So that's another factor, but I would start with your adrenals, and I think that'll solve your problem. Now with your daughter, what's going to happen, they're going to do gastric bypass. If she's totally convinced of doing this, and she's unwilling to change her mind about it, I would totally recommend keto intermittent fasting. The reason for that is that she's going to have a smaller surface area for her digestion. So there's going to be complications of just absorption of nutrients. So when she does intermittent fasting, that actually aligns with someone that doesn't have that full strength of digestion, because now we're not traumatizing by eating so frequently. So that's one thing. Also, when you do less meals, the need for nutrients goes down. So your body starts recycling the nutrients it has, especially the proteins, so you don't need the calories like you did before. So that's going to be really cool. The only thing I would recommend is the trace minerals for her, and probably some digestive support, because that's the thing that a lot of people that have that procedure, they don't get enough trace minerals from the food. So there's a plant-based liquid that you can take that'll at least give you all that, and that'll help her protein so she doesn't end up with atrophied muscles. But there's a lot more. I have a video on that you can actually watch on gastric bypass. But thanks for your questions. Okay, so now we're going to go to Adi for another question on social media.
All right, so I have Rita on Facebook, and she's asking if she's doing the 1 meal a day, is it recommended for someone that's healing their adrenals?
Yeah, I think if she's feeling good with it, I think it's going to help you with your adrenals. Now, there's always a transition step of going into this, and it's kind of like you're in the middle of keto adaptation, so you might not feel great. So then you want to just load up with the nutritional yeast and the electrolytes, because that way it'll give you the nutrients to make this transition easier. But it's going to take stress off the adrenals when you get fully adapted, because you're no longer running on glucose, which is it's a huge improvement for the adrenals. Just make sure what you're eating is healthy, and make sure with adrenal, you do not want to cut down your cholesterol fatty foods. You want to go up with those, because all these adrenal hormones are made from fat. So we do not want to deprive the body of fats. That's like the most important thing. Okay?
All right.
So one more question.
Awesome. All right, I have Corrine on YouTube, and he's asking, your electrolyte drink, is it okay to drink during fasting?
Yeah, the electrolyte drinks, it's just a drink. There's hardly any calories in there. It's all minerals. And yes, you can take that when you're fasting, and it actually will help you. And he just brought up another point. There's something called Ticino. Ticino is an alternative coffee. It's better than decaf because it has no caffeine, and it's made from chicory root. It tastes just like coffee. I like to have that when I'm fasting because it's like no caffeine. You're drinking this. I make these like cups this big. It's like coffee. And what I'll do is I'll take Ticino and I'll put in these little bags. It's a little, you can get it at the health food store. I'll put in these bags. It's probably like 3 tablespoons, and I'll let the hot water steep for like probably 5 to 6 minutes. I'll put a little bit of xylitol and heavy cream. It makes this thick coffee. I'm digging it. I love that. And you do that when you're fasting. It really helps. Okay, now we're going to go to Ashley from Memphis. You had a question.
Hey, Dr. Berg. My
Hi.
name is Ashley. I'm 52 years ago. 52 years old. I've been following you for 2 years. In the past, I eat all day long, and I have no weight problem. I'm thin. I am 5'7", about 120 pounds. I'm always hungry. I was always hungry, and probably I eat because I eat all day long. I probably damage my pancreas, and I believe I probably have a fatty liver. I had a lipoma surgery probably 3 years ago. It was on my left shoulder. And I have a low blood pressure. My blood pressure, the high usually is like 40, 50 something, and then the high is like they are all 2 digit, like 80, 90 something. And I have a eye bag on the left hand side of my eye. I always feel very tired. I do take a dandelion. I take a vitamin D3, K2, and the choline. I eat 2 meals a day, do 16 hours fasting. And I have these symptoms, and I see that you can tell me if they are linked and what should I do. I have a callus on the foot of my ball. It's very painful when I dance, when I tiptoe dance. I have a weak wrist, and a lot of time I drop stuff like holding water bottle, and I will tend to drop it, and I have a trouble to open a can, and I feel lethargy all the time, very tired. And in the winter time, my limbs and the legs are frozen cold. And recently I have a small bump on my pinky finger bone when I make a fist.
Got it. So I have a question, Ashley.
That's all the symptoms.
Okay, thank you. You said, let's talk about the callus on your foot. Is it left or right foot?
On the right foot.
Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Let's talk about that first. There's a callus on your right foot, and it makes it difficult to walk. There's a really cool technique that you can do to at least get rid of the pain. And this also works if you had surgery on a neuroma on your foot, that after that it's just you can't put pressure on it. What you do is you take your opposite foot, the left foot, exactly where it would be on the mirror image side. You can do this for surgery or pain, and you press into the left side of the underneath your foot, mirroring the right side where it's hurting. And you're going to find a tender spot that's very tender, and you're going to basically massage that for 2 minutes. Your pain in your right side will completely go away. You won't even feel it. It's a little trick, a little secret that you can try. Just don't tell anyone. Okay? I'm just being sarcastic because now everyone knows. But you can do this with pain anywhere in the body, especially for surgeries. It works like magic. Now, for these other things, it sounds like you know, this is a common thing. You have all these different issues with the energy, and you probably had a lot of frequent eating, and you sound like me. It's going to just take some time to really repair all this stuff, but I think if you can clean up your diet, I think you've already have, because I don't really know what you've eaten, but you're doing great with intermittent fasting, and then now it's just start really focusing on increasing more nutrient-dense foods. One thing that I like to take is the wheatgrass juice formula, because you're taking like in 1 teaspoon a tray of wheatgrass 18 inches by 12 inches. You can get a lot of nutrition in just a small little drink because it's just going to help. It's good for those people that want to spike their nutrition and heal certain things a little faster. That just might help you because obviously there's some damage there that needs to be cleared up. Okay? Thank you for your question. And by the way, guys, you need to download this if you haven't. It's pretty cool stuff. And then you can kind of find out the basics of how to do keto. And there's a course as well. There's a course that you can take online. It's called How to Do Ketosis. It's right on my website, right under Education, the Education tab. And then also, if you want to listen, I'm on tunein.com. So you can go to that website and check it out. And then just type Dr. Berg. Okay, so Adi, we're going to go to you.
Okay. All right, so I have Ray on YouTube, and he's asking, is it true that cruciferous vegetables will worsen hypothyroidism?
Well, if you you would have to consume 17 pounds every day of cruciferous vegetables to mimic the studies they did on pigs.
Oh, wow.
So the average person with the amount of kale they're doing, it's not going to even come close because these were not human studies, these were animal studies. So just keep it under 17 pounds.
Okay.
But if you're concerned, then add some sea kelp and problem solved. Okay?
Okay.
And then we'll take the last call from Glenn. Go ahead, Glenn. You're from Columbia, South Carolina. Go ahead.
Yes. Good morning, Dr.
Good
Berg.
morning.
I started following you about mid-November, and pretty much felt real good. Didn't have any problems eliminating carbohydrates and sugars. Didn't have any problem with the intermittent fasting. I usually don't eat anything after my bulletproof coffee in the morning till usually 3:30 or 4 o'clock.
Wow. Good.
I was feeling real comfortable with that, and I decided I would do a 3-day fast. And on hour about 70, the best way I can describe it is I just went blank, and as I told my wife, I cannot find my voice. And I had had a prior heart attack in October 2013, so she was concerned about a possible stroke. So she said, well, I'm calling 911, and my answer was okay, because I knew I was not functioning correctly. Well, when I got to the ER, of course, they did blood work, and my sodium was 116. So I had worked in the medical profession, and my last boss was a geriatrician doctor, and he said, well, Glenn, usually it's pretty hard for a human being to get low sodium. I think it might be your antidiuretic enzyme that was holding water, thus diluting your sodium. So he said I should get in to see an endocrinologist to check into that. Now, once they gave me hydration, my sodium went from 116, 122, 127, but they kept me overnight in an observation room just to make sure, because I had had the prior heart attack. What's your take on that particular situation?
So what did it go down after? Or
no,
up?
It went from 116. The next time they did it was 122, and then 127.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the next morning, they did a lab draw, and it was like 130.
Okay, so
and
let me.
They were
okay.
They were okay with releasing me at that time.
Yeah. So here's the thing about that, Glenn, and this is going to be real quick because I would have to kind of get more history on you. But when you do longer fasts, the problem with fasting with some people is that it's kind of like you're mimicking starving. So you just want to make sure you get all your nutrients, especially like sea salt and things like that, because it can then show up in various deficiencies, whether it's a B vitamin, sodium, electrolyte, potassium. So the key with this intermittent fasting is make sure that maybe if you have pre-existing heart failure don't go that long. Maybe go once a day, eat, and make sure it's a nutrient-dense meal. Make sure you get your sea salt, your potassium, your electrolytes, and I think that's what I would recommend. But hey, thank you, Glenn, for that, and thanks everyone for the wonderful questions. They were questions that I could finally answer, and thanks, Adi.
No problem.
Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week.